Welcome back to DS Trucks. In today's video, I want to do a long-term review on our 16-foot 16K Sure-Trac dump trailer that we picked up earlier this year. Now, we've had this trailer for about 5 months now. 5 months. We had a chance to use it. Not super heavy. We've hauled some dirt. We've hauled some really finely mulched up leaves. And really, it is probably a little bit overkill for what we do, but at the time when we picked this up, this is all they had. I would have been just fine with the 14K 16 footer, which is what I actually ordered, but the delays that we faced were just insane. So here we have it, 16 foot 16K. So being a 16K dump trailer means that we have two 8,000 pound axles. It means that you have much heavier duty lug nuts and heavier duty bearings, heavier duty brakes, which you can definitely tell. It took a minute actually for the brakes to break in, where for a period of time it was like we had no brakes, but pretty heavy duty stuff. And honestly, it is a nice upgrade. Having the commercial tires right off the rip, you have a lot more tread with these tires. Here's the spare. You can see how deep the tread is. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're real expensive tires or anything. You know, trailers typically come with like the worst tires, but they are better than what you get on the 14K dump trailers. I mean, they come almost bald. The 14Ks come almost bald, and after the first year, they're bald because they just didn't come with a lot of tread. Whereas these tires, they honestly do get you into a lot more tire options, being on a 17.5 inch rim, full commercial tires. Great option to have. So that part I love. I'm so far enjoying the tires. It does mean that it will be a little bit more expensive possibly to mount and dismount these tires, but maybe not. I am parking this trailer at a truck stop, so I have commercial tire service there, so they would be right at home servicing these tires, swinging a hammer on these tires, mounting and dismounting by hand if needed, and getting a hold of commercial tires because there's a commercial tire guy there. So long-term review, the good and the bad. So the good, like I said, the tires are better, the axles are better, the brakes are awesome. So far, it seems like the powder coat is pretty good, although we are not pulling this in the snow or anything. The powder coat does seem to be pretty good. We've got the telescopic ram, pretty cool to have because it looks impressive when it's dumped 16 feet way up in the air. It dumps pretty steep. At first it made me a little nervous because all your weight comes right off of your hitch and it looks like your back tires are going to kind of pop off the ground. So the first couple dumps I've been a little nervous dumping it, but it's definitely more going on than having your 14 foot 14K. This is what I had before this trailer, and that trailer unfortunately was stolen. But when you dump this, it's way more than when you dump the 14 foot 14K. This thing really gets up there, but we can't dump it now because we got some stuff in it, so we can't dump it out now because I got like a mower in there. I've got some fall cleanup in the nose, and that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been putting my mower in the rear and putting my fall cleanup stuff right here in the nose and just kind of paddling it up. And honestly, this is why I got a 16 footer, because I could put so much stuff in the front here and keep piling it in and just keep my mower in the back there. So the 14 footer was kind of running out of space too fast, so I ordered up a 16 footer. Now going with this, you got the taller frame here. Now the Diamond C would have been nicer because they are, I would honestly go for a Diamond C with the scissor lift over even a telescopic, but they do cost a lot more, but their deck height's way lower compared to this. Now when you're getting a mower into the trailer, it's kind of like you're going to be a little more steep than you might want to be, but honestly it's not even too bad. So we keep a set of aluminum ramps to get our mower in. And here we've got our battery. And honestly, the amount of dumping that I'm doing, I don't even have to ever really plug in my battery. My truck keeps it charged up. We've got a GPS tracker on the trailer, so if they try to steal it, they have to knock off our GPS tracker, which is right there. But this GPS tracker allows me to monitor this battery from anywhere, and I can see what condition the battery is in. And I can tell right now, once I hooked up the truck and everything, the battery is now charging. So we're at like 14 volts on this system right now, which is going to be charging up this battery very slowly. Now for the cons. So one of the cons is this hoist that they give you. It's just a generic jack, this tongue jack, just a generic jack, not a big deal or whatever. But I will say, it doesn't work that good, especially when it gets cold. It just doesn't work that good. Now, when you look here, you can see that there's grease all over the place, and it's not accepting any grease. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and take this cover off, which is why I picked this up today. Didn't just do this to make the video. I gotta figure out, like, when it gets cold and you try to hook this thing up, one of these grease fittings takes nothing. One maybe takes a little, and it just cranks and cranks, and it's so heavy, hard to crank. So I gotta grease this thing. I can't get it to take grease, so I might even have to take the grease fittings off of here, figure out why. Another con with this jack is it's the way this hook is right here. This hook, you grab it, you pull it, and the leg drops down so you don't have to crank it as much. Very nice to have. But when you unhook your chain, and you hook it right here. Well, when you do that, naturally that chain wants to sit right underneath this hook. So when you go to crank it up, all of a sudden your chain is going to be pulling your loop down, and that's why this loop has been ripped down. So I noticed that it did that when I bought the trailer. I got it home. I went to take it off. I took off the chain, and maybe I could show you that. I don't know if I can because of the angle. I'd have to straighten out the truck. I will do that. But I got the truck, and I took off the chain, and I took everything off, went to unhook it, hung the chain, and I started cranking it, and you're not gonna feel the mechanism in the jack pulling on that chain. But shut that. You're not gonna feel the mechanism pulling on the chain, but you will rip off that chain. And I happened to be paying attention and saw it, and it didn't pull off the chain. It didn't rip anything off. But a couple months later, I hired a guy, good driver, actually. He was a very good driver. And he was talking, oh, I'm always pulling dump trailers, I can back up, which is true, he could. But when the first thing he did, and I went around the other side, is he hooked up this chain, and as you see, the way it falls, it's right here. So when you crank this, it pulls this out, and that's exactly what he did. And ever since he did that, I think he might even bent my little handle a little bit here. So that's one of the cons. You got to watch out for that when you have this. I mean, something that you kind of just got to watch out for. Maybe I'll switch this thing out, spin this chain a little bit. My chains are kind of too long, so I'll spin them. I know a lot of people say, you can't do that, but I am. But yeah, so that's one of the cons, that chain there not being in a good location with that hook there and that foot there. I am thinking maybe if I get some extra money, I'll put like an electric one in here so I can just crank this thing on and off. Maybe I'll put like a jump cable in there that I only can use with the key and everything that I bring, so that you can't steal the trailer because you can't jack it down. I don't know. We do have a lock hitch now. Before we were locking up the wheels, and they were able to cut that. They were able to cut the wheels free and steal my other trailer. But as far as cons go, really, I think that is pretty much it. I know that compared to some of the better trailers out there, if you could say they're better, I mean, they're definitely claiming to be better, like the Diamond C and the Lamar, some of these other ones that have fancy stuff on them. The Sure-Tracs, I mean, they're not super fancy. you have to definitely take care of these trailers, these Sure-Tracs, a little bit more. You don't want these to get salty. You don't want these to be too dirty all the time. You want to grease these fittings. You can see the grease coming out there. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and grease this whole thing down with some good AMSOIL grease. But it's been pretty good. I know the floor comes into multiple pieces. When you look, there's a seam on the floor going here. There's like a seam going here. So, you know, I know Diamond C, I think they say like their floors are all one piece. You don't even have any seams, which is, I guess, better. I mean, hasn't been an issue for me. I'm not using it super heavy duty. For me, it's just a tool where, you know, it's kind of a luxury for me. It's kind of like a milestone a little bit too for me. I'm not going crazy and putting concrete and all that just now. I mean, maybe I will down the road. So it's been good enough for me. Now, for somebody else, maybe it's not a good enough trailer, but for me, it's been great. I do know when it gets warm out, when the temperature changes, this ram will gain fluid, because you got to remember, fluid expands and contracts, and then the dump body will pop up ever so slightly, and you have to actually go in here and lower it back down so that it's all the way down. So it kind of rises up when it warms up outside. So right now it's like 30 degrees outside, and if it warms up to like 50 degrees, my bed's gonna creep up a little. So almost like there's no valve, release valve. It's gonna creep up a little bit. Before you pull it, you want to lower it back down. It's just gonna bang around and be all obnoxious. So, and then too, it's not gonna be sitting in its locating tabs, and it's gonna be really obnoxious. So when you go up, so that's one of the issues. Like if you were to just let this thing sit here in the sun and it gets hot, every time you pull it, every time you pull the trailer, you gotta lower it back down, because you've got these locking tabs right here. And if it goes up enough, you're not gonna be locked in. And this thing, you don't wanna drive down the road if it's popped up like this, because it's very shifty and it's noisy. Normally it's not gonna do it that high. Well, it definitely won't ever do it that high. Normally when it happens, it's gonna be pretty close. It's gonna be like, maybe like that, just like a little gap will form when the temperature rises up, and it's gonna just do all that while you're going down the road. It's gonna constantly, and then you'll know right away, yeah, I gotta lower my freaking ram, press down, and it goes down. So pretty good trailer, pretty cool. They are cheaper. This trailer was $15,000, and I believe the Diamond C's, a comparable Diamond C, is going to be at least $20,000. Is it worth it? I mean, yeah, I guess if you're really going to be beating on it, but you could definitely beat on this too. This thing is, everything's thicker with the 16K. You don't really get more payload with it, to be honest. You get about 10,000 pounds payload. And with the 14K trailer, because they build it so much lighter weight, like a lighter duty trailer, you get about 9,000 pounds with that trailer. So you might get a little bit more capacity with this one. You get a little bit more. You might get like 1,000 pounds or so heavier going with the 16K. But if you go to 14K, you still get roughly the same payload. But you can definitely tell, just looking visually at a 14K, that the frame is a little bit thinner, a little bit not as tall. This thing's like that, and then the floor, everything I think is a little thinner with the 14K in a Sure-Trac. So anyway, guys, that's it for my review of the Sure-Trac. It's been good. I know I've seen people who've gone from Sure-Trac to Diamond C or whatever, as they've grown their companies, got more revenue or whatever. They've expressed how much better the Diamond C's are. I do know that, and maybe that's the route we'll go down the road. But for us right now, the Sure-Trac has been great. Very, very minor issues. Looks great going down the road. Looks great hooked up to the 250. Very good weight. Very good weight to be behind the 250, right there at non-CDL territory for a 250. So definitely love the truck and the trailer. Definitely having fun with the trailer. But anyway, this is DS Trucks. See you guys in the next video. Over and out.